everyone, and welcome to Seablip, a game where you can sail the wide, open seas, fight fierce battles against evil corporations and colonial powers who are clearly not meant to represent the British Empire. Upgrade your ships with a variety of weapons and gadgets. Visit lonely islands in search of treasures, and even run into some scary undead. This and more is of course only possible with the support of your trusted crew, who will man the cannons, repair the ship, pump water, and even sacrifice their very lives trying to board enemy vessels. Your crew is basically what makes the dream of becoming a feared pirate possible. They are your most important resources on the open seas and might as well be the closest thing to a family you got. Which is why we won't be using them at all. I mean, think about it. They're loud, stinky, probably drunk and covered in poo. Why would you ever want to spend days, weeks and months stuck on a tiny wooden boat in the middle of nowhere with people like that around? I'm sure we can all agree on that. So let's see if a solo pirate can complete the game without ever taking a single human crewmate aboard. We start by creating our pirate. After choosing a hairstyle, skin color, and a simple shirt, we give her a scary name that shall strike fear into the hearts of her enemies. Grab a cannon and a room full of funny-looking potions for her starting equipment, and are finally ready to take on the high seas. The game starts with our grandfather visiting our home island and advising us to be careful of pirates, which is quite thoughtful of him. He even gives us his old cannons to defend the island before leaving on a secret voyage. Now left to our own devices, we do what every sane island owner would do. Start chopping down all those annoying trees and turning them into lumber. Satisfied with the environmental destruction we have caused, we ignore the sailors begging to join our crew and row to our ship. The first thing we see is a whaler harpooning a whale. As an animal lover, we obviously won't stand for that and sail out to confront the other ship. Unfortunately, our presence is not appreciated and we are attacked by the grumpy whalers. During the battle, we are presented with a slight dilemma. Since we're a solo pirate, we can either steer our ship, which gives us a chance to avoid enemy attacks, or we can use the cannon to shoot at the whalers. Seeing as avoiding attacks probably won't win us the fight, we decide to start blasting away. Luckily for us, the enemy ship is quite shoddily built and goes down with all hands in a couple of hits. We salvage the debris and get some desperate needed gold out of it. Looking around, we spot a strange object drifting on the ocean, which turns out to be a message in a bottle. It tells us of a ship that we might be able to salvage should we possess a good amount of wood. Good thing we chopped down all those trees. After sailing around for a while, we come across the ship and manage to repair it at the cost of a measly 75 wood or 19 innocent trees. Well worth the sacrifice. The new ship has an inbuilt magical shield that can block enemy cannonballs, which makes it quite a bit better than our current vessel. We transfer our equipment to our new ship and fall asleep after a day of hard pirate work. The next day, we're being ambushed by a totally not suspicious-looking person who claims our grandfather is in need of help, as he has somehow managed to anger a powerful faction called the Octopus Company. Since our grandfather is family, we set sails right away and travel north towards a newly revealed island called the Spirit Bay. Upon arrival at the island, we're met by our grandfather, who tells us that the letter he had stolen earlier seemed quite important to the Octopus Company, and that a friend of his at Redford Island might know more about it. A gang of Octopus Company enforcers looking for the letter suddenly appear. After a short, heated exchange of words, their leader shoots our grandfather in cold blood before vanishing into the night again. The following day, we're informed about the funeral for our grandfather, which we are, of course, planning to attend. Just outside our house, a stranger awaits us with the offer of a bounty hunt for 6,500 gold, dead or alive, for a cute little monkey who's terrorizing the area around our home island. Leaving our island, we make our way to Seablip Island to attend the funeral. To vent her grief and anger, our solo pirate commits a healthy amount of ecocide before finally reaching the beach where the funeral for our grandfather will take place. After saying our goodbyes, we watch as the body of our grandfather is sent on his way, the current carrying him away out in the open sea and into the night. The following day, we run into a guy named Vincent, who shows up uninvited on our doorstep and offers to build us a shipyard in exchange for some gold and lumber. Pirates need ships, so of course we agree. Now short on gold, we do what every half-decent pirate does best: plundering ships. The ships around our island aren't much of a challenge, but they provide a steady income and, more importantly, experience. We managed to reach level 2 soon afterwards and get to choose between 2 different skills. Repair Master is quite bad, so we choose Technician, which allows us to repair every weapon and item on our ship with a single click. This is especially useful for a solo pirate, as we otherwise would have to repair everything by our lonesome self. Furthermore, we get to put a single point in our pirate's attributes. For now, we will try to max out her health points, as health is easily the most important stat. After attacking a few more ships, we hit level 3 the next day, and after spending our attribute point, we decide to try to find a way into another undiscovered area of the map. To get there, we need to win a few fights in a row against other ships. These battles are still fairly easy, as our ship has way more hit points, but will put us against various opponents with different strengths and weaknesses. Our first enemy is a small British ship that is protected by a shield as well. We suffer quite a bit of damage, but somehow the British seem to lose heart and offer some gold and a potion should we agree to let them leave in peace. The other ships aren't particularly challenging, and we successfully sail into a new area called the Barrel Waters. Looking around, we spot a small island in the distance, and upon landing are greeted warmly by a fellow female pirate, before witnessing a grand theft, parrot napping, and being offered a bounty in return. Exploring the map further, we find another tiny island called the Barrel Bay, home to a clan of pirates called the Barrel Boys. As a fellow pirate, we are of course honor-bound to steal their gold and trees. Afterwards, we spent most of our hard-earned gold to buy a new weapon called a fire barrel for our ship. The monkey that comes with the weapon will craft the fire barrels by itself and send them towards the enemy ship, serving as a much cuter and more intelligent, and probably cleaner, replacement for a normal human crewmate. The fire barrels aren't particularly good at damaging an enemy ship, but they serve as a useful distraction by setting parts of the ship on fire. After a few more fights, we finally managed to get up to level 4, and with most of the new map explored, we travel back to our home island and end the day. We spend the next 2 days attacking and sinking every ship we can find, sending them to the bottom of the sea and plundering every bit of gold our grubby little hands can get a hold of. Furthermore, after causing the likely death of about 2 dozens or more sailors, we managed to reach level 5, which lets us choose between 2 more skills. Fire immunity isn't bad, but solid rock gives the weapon or station we're using on our ship more resistance to damage, which is simply a lot better in most situations. Having become overconfident because of all the easy victories, we try to take on the first boss challenge, which turns out to be a really bad idea, as the end boss is a powerful, quite grumpy wizard who rips our ship apart with fireballs and lightning. . 」 « « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « we find ourselves thrown down into a horrifying nightmare where people are turned into undead skeletons. Jumping into the cold, dark waters, we end up in a large cave, being repeatedly killed and revived by what looks like a platypus. Talking to the nearby whale, we find out that he lost his locker, which seems to be the reason souls are turned into undead pirates. We're tasked with retrieving it and are subsequently sent back to the world of the living. The next day, we meet the platypus, who's called Nebula, on our home island again. He offers to revive any crew member who might have died in battle for a fee. Little does he know that his business idea is bound to fail, with him ending up destitute and having to sell his body to a zoo in England. Leaving our island, we run into one of the bounties we've picked up earlier. It's a small ship led by the monkey Momo, who's also firing the only gun. Luckily for us, he's a terrible shot, and the ship goes down after being hit by a couple of cannonballs. Now 6,500 gold richer, and having unlocked a new ship, we sail to the edge of the map to try and uncover a new area. A few ship battles later, we arrive in the Pink Sea and land on the first island we spot on the horizon. After stealing their golden trees, we set sail to explore the last undiscovered area with a fairly low difficulty rating. Here the battles start to become quite tough, with bigger and better armed ships putting up far more of a challenge. With some tactical shooting and a bit of luck, we managed to get through those battles relatively unscathed and reach the Redcoat territory. Hitting level 6, we put our attribute points into attack damage to deal with the occasional border and repair speed to fix up our ship as fast as possible. While exploring the new area, we stumble upon a ship of the Octopus Company. Unlike the previous encounters with the company, this ship is out for blood and even brought a pufferfish along. This is one of the more dangerous weapons in the game, as the fish will not only deal damage to the ship, but bite holes into the hull, which need to be repaired as quick as possible to prevent the ship from sinking. For our solo pirate, this turns out to be quite bad, as repairing the leak means she can't use the cannon to deal damage. And after a short struggle, our ship goes down with all 4 hands. Waking up back at our home island, we realize that we will need a better ship to deal with the new challenge. We attack a British ship and decide to keep it after throwing its crew overboard, as it offers 2 more spaces for additional weapons. The following day, we use one of the blueprints we managed to plunder from another ship and get schematics for crafting a parrot bomber out of it. While we have enough wood to craft it, we are missing 3 peanuts, which are only sold in the Redcoat territory. We make our way over there while doing our best to dodge every enemy ship. Reaching the town, we're met by a wealthy lady who asks us to hunt down a very ugly pirate for the huge sum of 65,000 gold. Good thing our character is a pretty pirate, otherwise it might have been her own face on the wanted note. We buy the peanuts we need and make for the edge of the map when we spot another landing site. Upon arriving on the island, we're met by a knight called Sir Knightley, who warns us of a dragon that dwells in a nearby cavern. Pirates don't fear men, gods, or dragons, and so we walk bravely into the darkness. As it turns out, the dragon is just a literal Paperdragon, which Sir Knightley takes pretty hard. Exploring the cave, we eventually stumble upon another exit and end up on the grounds of a grand estate. Unfortunately, Lord Jameson doesn't believe our excuse of having taken a wrong turn and throws us into a prison ship. We manage to pick the lock of our cell and are rescued by our new best friend Sir Knightley. We thank him by stealing his money and sailing back to our own island. There, we use the peanuts to craft 2 parrot bombers and put them on top of our ship. Drunk on our newfound power, we spend the next few days plundering every ship that dares to cross our path. dive-bombing them before taking their gold and giving the crews a crash course in how to swim long distances. We even take on the grumpy mage who had sunk our ship the first time and absolutely demolish him, proving that fancy spells and dark curses are no match for modern air power, and netting us a nice 7,500 gold. Our next goal will be the acquisition of our very own pufferfish, as this would increase our offensive potential by quite a lot. There are basically 3 different ways to gain access to new weapons and equipment. We can either buy them directly from a shop if we're lucky, and find one that sells the things we need, or we can directly craft them ourselves if we happen to have the blueprint and the resources for it. Lastly, we can plunder equipment from enemy ships with the chance of success based on the weapon's rarity. After a few more ships, we manage to level up again, spending the points on attack damage and repair speed. Right after that, we run into our very first ship, crewed by undead skeletons. These kinds of fights are quite hard, as the undead prefer heavily armed ships that will destroy unprepared pirates in just a few volleys. Good thing we can revive ourselves, the animals, and even our ship. Thinking about it, our pirate is something of an undead monster as well. No matter what happens to her, she will just be resurrected again. Kind of like a female Jesus. That is, if Jesus was into piracy and fought against other undead. The next day, our undead Jesus girl is finally successful at stealing a pufferfish tank, and we put it onto our ship straight away. Sorry, little fire monkey, but you will have to leave the boat for now. Shortly after that, we managed to get our greasy little hands on yet another fish tank. We do away with our trusty cannon and sail out to give the pufferfish a test run. For the most part, that setup works quite well, as the parrots and the fish deal a fair amount of damage that ignores both shield and evasion chances, both of which are a big problem while using a cannon. Unfortunately, there's still some more room for improvements, as we find out the hard way when trying to go up against one of the bigger ships in the British Navy. But even with a setback like that, we eventually hit level 8 and again put the attribute points into melee damage to be able to faster deal with unwanted guests on our ship. With the new upgrades to our ship, we sail out and explore the first 3 skulls area furthest to the west of the map, which puts us up against green stinky goblins trying to block our path. We manage to beat 2 of their ships with only minor problems, but end up catching a bullet without head during the last battle. Trying again, we successfully make it through the challenge, even though our ship suffers quite some damage. Exploring the new map, we find a goblin village on one of the islands. The goblins there don't offer any resistance and try their best to stay hidden. So we steal their treasure, chop down all of the trees, burn down their huts, and sell the children into slavery before sailing into the sunset. I really have no idea why those goblins don't seem to like humans and even attack them on sight. I guess they're simply hateful, chaotic, evil creatures that we should wipe out without mercy. Having made the world a better place, we are approached by a merchant who sells various ships. We buy the houseboat for a whopping 30,000 gold pieces, as it offers an inbuilt legendary magic shield. We put both of the pufferfish onto the ship, followed by a big, beautiful mortar fired by a little monkey that we liberated earlier from a fellow pirate, and a generator to increase our evasion chance. We set out to take on another undiscovered area in the far north of the map and run into several French vessels. The new ship proves its worth by not suffering any damage at all, even when facing bigger ships that we didn't manage to take on successfully before. Between the fights, we managed to reach level 9 and put most of the attribute points into repair speed and a single point into luck, which we are going to need if we want to take on some of the really big ships in the future. We arrive in the Blue Coat territory and sail into the harbour of a French outpost. where a snobby French industrialist approaches us for our help in getting rid of a captain named Fishhead who's harassing the local miners, probably while defending his people's ancient lands or something. We're willing to overlook the moral implications, as 65,000 gold is a really big pile of coins, and take on the bounty. After some more raiding and making money, we eventually hit both day 50 of our solo journey and the maximum level of 10. Having grown from a level 1 beginner pirate into a seasoned pirate captain by now, I think it might be a good idea to take a closer look at the problems we're currently facing and the plans for the future. The biggest obstacle right now is our ship, or, well, the lack of a better ship. The houseboat we are currently using is decent due to the inbuilt magical shield, and together with our trusty pufferfish assassins, we can take down all 1 and 2 skull and most 3 skull ships, with the notable exception of the top-tier pirate ship. Unfortunately, our ship will start sinking really fast once it takes on water, which of course is less than perfect for a solo pirate who has to repair every leak by herself. Additional, the space for weapons and equipment is quite limited, which means we can't afford to put any defense equipment like generators or additional shield power onto the ship. We are going to need a better and bigger ship to be able to take on the harder challenges. Of course, the problem lies in getting our hands on a higher tier ship in the first place, which isn't quite as easy as it might sound. There are basically 3 different ways. The first one is the easiest and involves just buying a ship from a shipyard, which is exactly what we've been doing so far. Unfortunately, all the ships available for sale right now are pretty much worse than what we already have, so that's not going to work. The second option available is based on pure luck, as there's a small chance that a ship sunk in battle will only be damaged and can be repaired afterwards with a bit of lumber. Sadly, every enemy ship we've sunken so far decided to honorable commit seppuku and turn into a Russian submarine instead of joining up with us. The third way to, well, liberate a ship is not to sink it, but to kill all those pesky crewmates manning the ship. This can normally be done quite easily by boarding, but unfortunately is not an option for a solo pirate, which is why we may have to go for a somewhat more complicated option. After sinking a pirate or a monkey with a bounty on their head, we get the option of buying their ship from our shipyard. I'm not quite sure how exactly that would work in real life, but hey, I will not look a gift horse in the mouth. Unfortunately, the ship is really small and only offers just enough space for a single pirate, Momo the monkey, and a small generator to increase our evasion chance. We start by doing a test run, which works well enough for the weaker ships to the detriment of their crews. Nicely done, Momo! Unfortunately, we don't do quite as well against a slightly better armed French vessel and go down after a lengthy fight. Undeterred by the setback, we try again the next day by attacking an even bigger ship. After all, only those who dream big will win in the end. With quite a bit of luck and some really good shooting by Momo, we managed to turn the French crew into dust and can finally take possession of a better and improved ship. The French ship can unfortunately only carry 3 pufferfish, but makes up for it by featuring an inbuilt pump, shield, and a smoke mortar, in addition to taking on water a lot slower than the houseboat. After a lot of planning and moving equipment between our ships, we're finally ready to set out in our new ship to see how it will perform in combat. We decide to take on the challenge of finding a way into the pirate-infested south of the map. The 3-skull pirate ship unfortunately manages to get away with a single hit point, but we still unlock the pirate territory. Sailing around, we stumble on the pirate Pete and his ship, whom we have already met before when he stole a parrot. The battle itself turns into a bird versus fish fight, with his parrots dropping bombs, while our trusty pufferfish assassins blow up the hull of Pete's ship. Proving that fish are clearly superior to silly birds, we sink his ship, netting us a nice 15,000 gold pieces, and bring the kidnapped parrot back to its thankful owner. Sailing back to the pirate territory, we spot another captain with a bounty on his head. As it turns out, he's the really ugly pirate the wealthy English lady wants us to take out. In order to keep this horrible, hideous, horrid monster of a man from spreading his ugliness any further and insult the delicate English taste with his grotesque face, we, of course, attack right away. Unfortunately, even though we put up a hard fight, our first attempt ends in a very watery grave beneath the cold waves of the stormy sea. After being revived and hopefully having cured the cold we got from spending too much time in the freezing water, we set out to give the ugly pirate another try. It's still a really close fight, but in the end we prevail and ride the world of the ugliest monster imaginable. The 65,000 gold coins are a nice bonus as well. We sail back home and buy the ship we just fought from our trusty ship dealer for a whooping 130,000 gold pieces, the most expensive ship so far. Sadly, we are able to only put 2 of our pufferfish onto the ship, as the lower decks can't be used because they're missing hatches for the fish to hop in and out. For now, the pirate ship will have to stay in port until we find some more appropriate weapons for it. Looking around, we spot a 4-skull mission beckoning us to take down another boss called YAARRR the Clown. Now everyone knows clowns are creepy as hell and shouldn't be allowed to exist, so we take on the mission of eradicating this monster. After battling through a few weaker ships, we reach the clown, who's hiding his evil crimes beneath a suspiciously colourful exterior. The battle takes quite a while and features some interesting weapons on the enemy side. There's the lucky wheel cannon fired by a golem that will deal random damage ranging from fairly weak shots, dealing only damage to the crew, to massive hits dealing 8 damage to the ship. Furthermore, there's the so-called moaning, with a tasty frog firing it, that lobs shells filled with water, a fire, and even a frost cannon. Luckily, our shield and the 50% evasion chance we got managed to keep our ship safe from most of the damage, and the clown finally goes down, his evil deeds and creepy smile sent to the bottom of the sea. Funny enough, I only wanted to see what we're up against and didn't actually expect to win this fight, but I'm not going to complain about the results. We buy the ship for another 130,000 gold, as it is better than the one we are currently using. It can even fit 4 fish tanks, a magical shield, and the generators. Plus, it's colourful and unique looking, which means it's a great choice for a unique solo pirate. Sailing out, we decide to visit the main island again and come across a gathering of people worried about the looming danger posed by the undead, who seem to mass an army in the north, while the very British mayor tries his best to calm down the citizens. Next, we visit the somewhat decrepit-looking building to the left and get to meet Sir Jasper, who wants to turn it into some kind of museum and asks us to track down a list of artifacts. We are able to gift him 2 of these right away and promise to keep a lookout for the rest of them. Unfortunately, finding these relics relies a lot on pure luck, so I'm not sure we can actually find all of them. We set out to unlock one of the last remaining unknown areas and reach the war zone, which is filled with English, French, and undead high-level ships. While exploring the map, we run into some weird, creepy tentacles that turn out to belong to the Kraken itself, who seemingly is a huge fan of our colourful ship. The battle wages back and forth, with our brave fish doing their best to take down the boat the Kraken is holding onto, while its tentacles proceed to bash huge holes into our ship. Running around battling the Kraken while repairing the damage, we do everything we can. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and the ship sinks beneath the waves, with our poor solo pirate ending up as a tasty snack for the Kraken. Clawing our way out of pirate hell yet again, we go back to the war zone and sail around until the Kraken appears. Surprisingly, the battle turns out to be a lot easier this time, as our trusty pufferfish get lucky and manage to quickly deal with the Kraken, sending it back into the depth of the ocean from where it came from, and netting us a nice 90,000 gold. Looking at the map, we spot yet another 4-skull boss called Gorilla Yum. Still riding high after our victory over the Kraken, we decide to take a look. The boss turns out to be a heavier-armed Momo, whose accuracy is again pretty abysmal, missing basically every single shot. We take down the ship without much trouble, and get the option to buy it from our trusted dealer back at our home island, which we will keep in mind for the near future. Exploring further, we stumble upon a small research base staffed by someone called Cadlu, who's doing research on unusual weather phenomena, and tasks us to investigate Captain Fury, who might possess weather-manipulating equipment. As luck will have it, we run into her just around the corner of the research base. Despite the name, Captain Fury turns out to be a lot less furious and somewhat of a dud, as the ship's main armament is a lightning cannon with a really slow firing rate and a fairly low damage output. We sink her, take the gold, and add the ship to our collection. The next few days are spent visiting different islands and looking for artifacts for the museum. Furthermore, we try our hands at one of the most boring things ever invented, both in video games and in real life. Yeah, it's fishing, which is so mind-numbingly dull that I couldn't be bothered to give the corresponding quest even a half-hearted attempt and just decided to ignore it. Instead, we draw the attention of the famous terrorist/freedom fighter, Fishhead, who is sought after by the French for attacking their miners. We ignore his ludicrous claim of protecting my people's land against the French oppression, because really, when did the French ever exploit other cultures and steal their land? With the moral dilemma out of the way, we get started. Fishhead's ship is pretty standard, with the only interesting things being a torpedo launcher at the front, and what appears to be a fairly diverse crew of aquatic beings manning the vessel. Unfortunately, they end up the way most resistance movements tend to go, in a shallow ditch. Well, in a very watery and very deep ditch, but the point still stands. This earns us a nice 65,000 gold pieces, and the knowledge that we now have defeated every single bounty in the game and have access to all of their ships. Finally, reaching day 85, we have everything a pirate could wish for. A good ship, gold, respect, loyal fish assassins, and even a nice hat. The only thing that is missing to make it a perfect pirate's life is a really big and really beautiful ship, with which we can terrorize the 7 seas. Regrettably, while we have sunk quite a few of the best ships in the game, we haven't managed to capture one quite yet. Of course, we ran into the very same problem before, so it might be time to get a bit more creative, by which I mean trying the very same tactic we've used before. Yeah, it's time for Momo again. We equip Momo's ship with as many generators as possible to increase our evasion chance to 100%. As long as we manage to keep the evasion rate up, gunshots and cannonballs won't be able to hit us, and Momo should have a lot of time to pick off the enemy crew. Of course, because Momo forgot his glasses again, actually hitting someone turns out to be surprisingly hard, with some fights taking forever. Still, on our test run, we managed to successfully take out all level 1, level 2 and level 3 ships. However, the biggest ships are still out of reach. The real problem with the big ships has less to do with Momo being blind, and a lot to do with the wizards being part of the crew. Unlike cannonballs, spells aren't affected by evasion for whatever reason, so while the cannons and guns won't do us any harm, at first that is, the spells being flung in our direction certainly will. And while the French wizards like to throw ice and magnetism magic at us, the British ones just love their fire and fury spells to set the whole ship ablaze. Leaving the helm of a ship unattended to repair damaged parts of the ship or beat out the flames will start to rapidly drop our evasion chance. So even a small fire can turn into a big problem. A generator being damaged will likewise lower the evasion chance, so even a little bit of damage can result in huge consequences for the ship and lead to certain doom. And since we can't give Momo a specific target, the enemy wizard will eventually manage to throw enough spells at our ship to lower evasion, just enough for the cannons to start dealing damage. We try a few other tactics, but these unfortunately prove even less successful, as our monkeys seem to have problems with their eyesight as well, and miss more than they manage to hit. There are some other options available to us, but sadly we got kind of unlucky with the golden blueprints, and so we are missing the ability to craft most of the necessary equipment. By day 98, Momo still hadn't made much progress. Furthermore, trying to borrow the equipment we couldn't craft from enemy ships was pretty slow going due to rather bad rolls. So we decide to try and go for the 4-skull pirate ship instead. Thinking about it, while the pirate ship might not be as impressive as the battleships employed by the British and the French, it makes far more sense for a solo pirate to actually sail a pirate ship. With that in mind, we turn our fellow pirates into dust and take control of the ship without any problems. The next day, we outfit the ship with the loyal animal companions we acquired throughout the game, upgrade its structure, and plunder a few ships for the fun of it. Afterwards, we sail to Seablip Island to give the few artifacts we found to the museum, say goodbye to our grandmother and Sir Knightley, and end the day looking over our island while probably drinking a mojito. The following morning, we grab our pirate hat, transfer our ill-gotten riches into the hold of our new pirate ship, and leave the island for the last time. With a heavy heart, we have finally realized that we have outgrown the confinements of our home, and that there is nothing more for us to achieve here. For this reason, we set sail into the unknown, in search of new adventures, challenges, and opportunities for a brave solo pirate.